Okay, so recall that I started this business of Aztec diamonds. So we defined the region of the plane, which is AN, and which forms the region which we are going to tile by dominoes. And I showed, so I stated the main theorem, which is which involves two statistics. One is the half the number of vertical dominoes in a tiling. So we argued that the number of vertical dominoes is always even, and then we defined this concept of a rank, which is the minimum number of elementary moves of the form two exactly adjacent horizontal dominoes going to two exactly adjacent vertical dominoes. So basically in a 2 by 2 square, and flipping them starting from the all horizontal domino tiling. So for A2 this was it, and we said that the rank is the minimum number of elementary moves starting from the all horizontal tiling to get to any tiling T, and we defined this generating function, polynomial in x and q, x raised to v of t, which is half the number of vertical dominoes, and q to the r of t, that r is the rank. And the theorem of Elkies, Kuperberg, Lassen, and Prop is that AD of n xq is this nice product formula. So, so today I will first mention some immediate corollaries of this. So as a consequence of the EKLP theorem, we get the following corollaries. So if you set x equal to 1, that is, you don't care about, you don't count the number of vertical dominoes, you get question? AD of nq. This is, of course, obvious. This is k equals 0 to n minus 1. 1 plus q to the 2k plus 1 raised to the n minus k. So here there is nothing to do. So you just set x equal to 1. So that's easy. If you set q equal to 1, you get AD nx. So here you are not counting the rank, you are just looking at the number of vertical dominoes. So then you get k equals 1 to n minus 1. This is 1 plus x to the n minus k. So now the factor that you are taking does not depend on k. So then I can, expand, I can multiply all this out. So I get, when k is 0, I get power n, then n minus 1, and so on, all the way up to 1. So this is 1 plus, oops, sorry, 1 plus x raised to the power 1 plus 2 plus all the way up to n, which is n into n plus 1. And the last corollary is if you set x and q to be 1. So now you are just counting number of domino tilings. This is 2 to the n plus 1. So this will fall off from this theorem. Okay. So as I said last time, this paper of EKLP proves this theorem in 4 different ways. That was slightly slight cheat. It actually proves this result in 4 ways. This result is not obtained in using all 4 ways. What we will prove is actually this result, connecting it with alternating set matrices. Okay, so we will prove C. Okay.
Sir, do you have something nice in the large n limit, or I mean it's all finite?
I will say something about that. I will not prove too many things in that limit, but I will say something about it, yes, later on. So the first thing I want to do, so remember, I said that this rank needs to be made clear. So it's not a priori clear that you can get from any get to any tiling T starting from the all horizontal tiling and performing this elementary. So that's what I will prove today. Okay. Right. So okay. So I'll need some notation. So write G as the graph of AN. I don't mean the dual graph. I mean the graph of AN with vertex set I'm not putting a subscript. I'll fix that. AB in Z2 mod A plus mod B less than equal to n plus 1, and the obvious obvious edge set. So in other words, if I go to graph, so use my rectangle. So this is A2. So this is example A2. So here G is the graph with these guys. Okay, slight subtlety here. You know, vertices are whatever, and there's this. We also need this extra bit. So okay, because 3,0 is included in this. Okay, so this is the graph. So what we want to prove is this theorem that every tiling can be obtained from any other tiling elementary moves. Okay, so So now we'll need some notation. Okay, so the first is the notion of is going to be a coloring of a standard coloring of the of AN. So let me see what that is. So the standard coloring is as follows. Color the lattice squares. Remember that a lattice square is a fundamental domain of the lattice. Color the lattice squares in AN alternately in black and white, so that the line x plus y equals n plus 1 passes through only white squares. Again, let me illustrate this with this example. So, okay, so what I'm going to do is, so look at the line. So this is the line x plus y equals n plus 1. In this case, I should have used another color. Okay, so so all these squares, lattice squares which we have not drawn, are going to be white. So we so let me color this. So this is going to be black. This is going to be black. Okay, like so. So you have this chessboard pattern. Maybe I should use it. Okay, so it's okay. All right. Now, okay. So this is our coloring. Now we are going to orient G. So remember, G is this graph with all these vertices. So I'm going to decorate this graph now. So we orient the edges of G. So this is just like a Castellane orientation, if you like. But we're not going to use Castellane's theorem directly. So we orient the edges of G so that black squares the left and white squares on the right. So the direction of the arrow is going to be such that if you are facing the arrow direction, you're going to see a black square on the left and always a black square on the left and a white square on the right. So this implies that arrows circulate clockwise, clockwise slash counterclockwise around white slash black squares. Okay, so let me do this example again. I'll scale it up a little so that you can see it. Okay, so let me use another color. So I'm going to draw an arrow so that as I go along, if my face were along the direction of the arrow from tail to head, then black would be on the left and white would be on the right. So this is in this direction. Here this is in this direction. Here in that direction. Here this. Okay. I hope that's clear. So this is going clockwise, counterclockwise along a black square, and if you repeat the same thing here, so you have in this direction, this direction. So it's going clockwise around. So it's going clockwise, clockwise here, and it's going counterclockwise here. Okay. Any questions? Okay. So very good. So that takes care of that. So now define V, which is AB in G, to be a boundary vertex if mod A plus mod B is equal to n or n plus 1. So all of these guys are boundary vertices, but so are these guys. So this. So these are the points which satisfy mod A plus mod B is n plus 1. But you also have these guys. Okay. So these are boundary vertices. All right. The boundary cycle you can guess what it is the closed cycle containing all boundary vertices. should say parenthetically including including 0 plus minus n plus 1 and plus minus n plus 1. So the way one does it, okay, so I have one more color, this one. So you will go, can you see this? This orange. So you go like so. So this is a degenerate vertex edge. It's going to be covered twice as you go along. Okay, so that's the boundary. Just to be complete, I will say edge orientations in pink. And in the green, that was the circulation. Okay. Any questions so far? Okay.
Are we giving orientation to the 4 hanging edges?
No, that yes. We will give it because this will be black, and then so which way will it go? This will.
I see. We extrapolate the color and that way. Okay.
Yeah, right. I'm going to say that we are going to embed this in the entire plane. Yeah. Okay. One more definition before I do that. So say that. Say that V, which is a B, is even so this is not the usual definition of even. If it is the top left corner of a white square. So this guy is even. Okay, so now I need one. So take a white square, look at its top left corner. This is even. This is even. These are even. So i.e. A plus B plus N plus 1 is even. Is an even. Okay, so right. So these guys will be even, and then you have the usual. Okay, so all right. So now I'm going to do this extension. So for any tiling T, extend T to a tiling T plus of R2 by adding horizontal dominance. Everywhere else. Let me show you how it looks like. So, okay, let me go back to my usual example. So, I shouldn't do that. What I'll do rather is turn mine. So let me. I can do it in one shot. Let me try. I can't do that. So this is A2. This is filled with whatever tiling that we choose. And now I'm going to pad it with horizontal lines in all directions. And I think I want it this way. I should have used another color. Like so, it's about. So then, once you have this, then this kind of first maybe I'll do. I should move this down, but let me see how the page fits. Yeah. So I'll move this down. Okay, so this is how you are going to extend it to all of it. I mean, it's not such a big deal. We just want to make sure things at the boundary behave systematically. We don't care so much about what's going to happen far away. Okay. So now let us see. Let me summarize certain facts. So there are. Sorry. Before that, any domino covers 6 edges in G. Right. So if you look at this, so for example, this horizontal domino over here will cover 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, 6. Similarly. So this is one. That's the facts. The second one is that there are 4 possible domino configurations, let's say. It's a local. So let me draw them for you. Okay. Okay, so okay, so what are the 4? So I mean 2 horizontal, 2 vertical, but in each there is a choice of which is black and which is white. This is black, or this is black, this is black, or this is black. Okay. So we are going to we're going to look at this in detail. Okay. So in all cases, in all 4 cases, three edges covered will be positive and 3 will be negative as we traverse the boundary. I'm again talking about the orientation. So remember what the orientation was. So what color did I use for the orientation? I used pink. So black will be on the left and white will be on the right. So it will be like this, or so this is counterclockwise. This is clockwise. This is counterclockwise. This is clockwise. You can see as you traverse, I mean, it doesn't matter what's the order, I mean, whether you do it, whether you traverse the boundary clockwise or counterclockwise, there will be 3 in the same direction as you are traversing and 3 in the opposite direction. So you can check all 4. Okay. Okay. And finally, every vertex of G lies on the boundary of at least one domino in T star, in T plus. So this is where the T plus sort of plays a role. So all the vertices over here lie on the boundary, this boundary cycle lie on the boundary of an external domino at least, and all of these will have to lie at the boundary of some domino because this is a tiling. It's going to tile the region. Okay, so here is an important definition. A height function Ht is a unique assignment of integers to the vertices of T, of G, sorry, given a tiling T such that these two properties hold. First is ht of minus n minus 1 0 is 0, and if uv is the boundary of a domino, with u going to v, then ht of v is ht of u plus v. Okay, so let me so let me show you maybe the picture. Let's go back here. So what should I, so let me take this. Delete the orange thing. Okay, so what we are going to do is we are going to assign heights to everybody, and starting with giving height 0 to this vertex, which is at minus n minus 1 comma 0. So this has height 0. Then remember we are talking about okay, maybe I should say nt plus. So all of these edges on the boundary cycle are boundaries of dominoes. So if you think about it, this is a black square, and so we go counterclockwise along it. So this edge is directed in to the right, and so the height of this guy is 1. Similarly, this is part of the same black edge, black square. So the edge is directed in the top, so you get 2. This is also black, so you get 3. Then this 4. All of these are black, so I get 5 and 6. And now this is a white square. So that makes this makes sense. So this edge over here is pointing to the left. So this is now a 4. And this is also, these are all white squares. So this is pointing up. So this is a 3, and this is a 2. Therefore, this is white. 1 0. And now again we have black squares. So this is now a 2, then a 3, a 4, 5, and 6. And now again white squares. So we go down 6, 5, 4, and then 3, and then 2, and then 1 and 0. And now every time you have a domino, you will get a height here, which depends on which edge is part of the domino, boundary of domino. So, for example, you should maybe I should do another example. Maybe I'll do all concrete example for size 1. So, n equals 1. Go back to the graph. So I have Okay, let me put the heights here. So this is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 0, 2, 4. Okay. And okay, let me make 2 copies of this. Okay, so there are 2 possible domino tilings. What should I show? Okay, so let me use another color. So let's say this is the horizontal tiling, and this is the vertical. Okay. All right. So let's see how to assign heights. So so in this example, there's only one height that is unknown because everything else is the boundary. Only the central one is unknown. Okay. And now remember what our hashing is. So I should have again done this. Okay. So what is the okay? So what is the statement? If UV is the boundary of a domino with U going to V, then the height of V is 1 more than the height of U. So and it's oriented from U to V. So here, if you see, let's look at this. Let's look at this vertex and let's look at this edge. Okay, to the left, from the origin to the left. This is the black square, so the edges around are counterclockwise. So the direction is to the left, and so that says that this has to be 0. This has to have height 0. But there is something non-trivial here, because if I look at the rightward edge, which is also the boundary of the horizontal domino, of both horizontal dominoes, in fact, then the direction of orientation is from left to right, and so again this, if I had looked at that instead, I would still have gotten a 0. You see, so there is something non-trivial going on. Similarly for this vertical domino, so now if I look, now I cannot look horizontally, I have to look vertically. So the direction of traversal of this black square is counterclockwise, so this edge points downwards, and so this will be a 4. And if I had looked at this vertical edge, the direction here is counterclockwise, so this would be pointing upwards, so that would again give me a 4. Okay, so an exercise here.
You mean that the definition is consistent, is it?
Right, exactly. So check that HT is well defined. That no matter how you do this, you will get a well-defined height function. So let me show you from their paper. Look at these two. So this is size 4, I believe. Size 3. So this is the all horizontal tiling. You can sort of see it implicitly, and at all vertices are given the height functions. So on the boundary it goes exactly as I showed you, 0 to 8 to 0 to 8 to 0. And now if you say look at, so this is a black square, these are black squares, and so that tells you as you go along this is 4, 5, 6, 7, 2, 3, 4, 5, 0, 1, 2, 3. And on the other hand, here is the vertical, all vertical dominoes. and now you see that the heights are very different in the interior. So here the heights were sort of smaller in some sense, and here they are much larger. So uh, here this guy has height 4 and this is height 0 over here, just like our example of size 1. But then you can see that in the interior they change. So yeah, so one has to check for consistency. Okay, and I leave you to think about it. It's not hard. So one thing to note is that for every domino there is an edge there is exactly one edge in the interior which is not the boundary of the domino. Okay, so this rule of assigning the height function cannot be applied to that edge. So that's these two edges over here and these two edges. So that's what determines the height function. There's something to check. Okay, and the key idea of the usefulness of this is the following proposition. Height functions are characterized by two properties. One, along the boundary cycle, height function is h, let's say. Along the boundary cycle, h takes values. First it goes 0, 1, etc. up to 2n plus 1, 2n plus 2. Then it goes down 2n plus 1 up to 1, 0. And then it goes all the way again from 1 to 2n plus 1, 2 plus 2. And then it goes down again. Okay, starting from minus n minus 1. Okay, it doesn't matter which means. So this is what we saw. And the other thing is that if u goes to v, I mean if the direction is from u to v in G, then h of v is either h of u plus 1 or h of u minus 3. So in this example, you see, I mean, h of v will be h of u plus 1 if uv is a boundary of a domino, right? That's by construction. But if it is not, as I just said, you know, these edges are not. In that case, h of v is forced to be h of u minus 3. So in this example, u goes to v, if this is u and this is v, u goes to v, the direction of traversal is upwards. So then h of, sorry, the direction of traversal is downwards. So this is v and this is u. So h of v is h of u minus 3. And here, the direction of traversal is again leftwards, and so this is u and this is u. Yeah. So this is u and this is v. Then Yeah, then h of v is h of u minus 3. So 1 is 4 minus 3. Okay, so any questions about this? Okay, so let's prove this. So one is sort of clear, right? A is clear from the construction. So I'll first prove these two properties for any height function, and then we'll prove the classification. Okay, so if uv is not a boundary of T plus, then it bisects a domino. Right? Then there are 4 possible domino configurations, as I showed you, and one can check that this holds in each case, that B holds in each case. By B I mean this part. So remember I showed you all 4 local configurations here. So let's take one of these. I'll leave the others for you. So I don't know, pick a number. So suppose this is I. This has height I. Then this is the boundary of a domino. So I'm assuming this is a domino. Okay. So then this has to be I minus 1. This has to be I minus 2. This has to be I minus 3. This again has to be I minus 2 and minus 1. So you see, and the direction is which way? So this way. So this is u and this is v, and you can see that h of v is h of u minus 3. And similarly, one can do all of this. Okay. So, all right. So that shows that for a tiling you get this property. For the converse, so suppose H satisfies A and B, place a domino across every edge where the difference is 3. Okay, I mean we're just doing the opposite. Now there's some nitty-gritties to check. So check that this is consistent. This is consistent and gives a tiling. In other words, it should not happen that for 2 consecutive edges you have difference 3. If that happened, then they would be overlapping. Right? Such things are not possible, and it's also not possible to have a region where where this property does not happen. So so that there will be an empty, there won't be a domino covering any cell. Okay. So there is some case analysis to be done, which I leave it. Okay. In other words, pick a cell and show that no matter what that height function is, it will force a domino either this way or this way or this way or this way. And you'll have to maybe do it for black and white cell. Black and white cells. Okay, so I claim that we have shown this. So thus we have a bijection between such height functions and domino tilings. So I should make a remark here. Is that underlying this definition, I mean, why did people think about, I mean, why do you want to associate a height function? So there's a key idea here, there's a sort of deep idea here. Deep idea here is due to Thurston. Is that every domino tiling can be thought of as a surface described by a height profile. Okay, so this is, I mean, this is a non-trivial and very useful idea, and also it's highly non-trivial. I mean, you would not have a priori thought about it that way. So, you know, many of these people were influenced by Thurston, and he had written this influential paper called on Conway's tiling groups, and where he found this way of describing it. So when I'll say something about random tilings later on, so then what this corresponds to is a random surface, and you know, that point of view is really useful and powerful. Okay, so it's just a side. Okay. Any questions so far? Okay. So now if we compare the height of a vertex V in the all horizontal tiling, which we'll call T min, with any other tiling, so I'm looking at a vertex V and I'm looking at its height both in T min and in T, then we can see that ht of v, maybe I'll write in the next line, ht of v minus ht min of v is a multiple of 4. It's always a multiple of 4. Why is that? Because of this proposition. So if I look at, so you can do this inductively. So okay, so maybe I'll say, so you get that it's a multiple of 2 for free because of parity issues, right? So because the heights are going to sort of, this is a bipartite graph, like, and so the heights are going to differ by 1. So in other words, the height of a vertex is determined by its parity. So it's either, the height is always going to be either always odd or always even. So you get height 2 for, I mean, multiple of 2 for free. So you get the difference is even for free. And to see multiplicity of 4, we can use induction on the distance from the boundary. For example, this is one way. So again, if I go here, I mean the boundaries are fixed. Now if I look at a vertex adjacent to the boundary, it's either going to be, there's going to be, I mean, it's going to have difference 1 or 3 with the other guy. So this could be either 6 in this example or 2, and you can see that they differ by 4. And you can continue like that inductively. So for any tiling, you will find that the height at any vertex is difference 4 with any other tiling. And so in particular, if you took all horizontal tiling, you would still get a difference. And there's a reason we are taking we are specializing the all horizontal tiling. And you'll see that also. So, and that's related to why it's called T-min. So this leads to the notion of a reduced height function. A reduced height function small ht of v, which is ht of v minus ht min of v divided by 4. Okay. Thus, by definition, ht min of v is 0 for all v. Okay. So we will see soon that the all verticals tiling Emax will dominate all other height functions. And now this is the reason for this nomenclature. So Tmin has the lowest height, the reduced height, that is, it's always 0, and Tmax will always have positive height. So just to go back to this example, the computer has become very slow for me. So this is the reduced height function for the all vertical styling. Okay, and you can see what's going on. So solves. Boundary is always 0, of course, because it's the same. And here you can see it's all positive numbers. Okay, so we'll prove that step by step. Okay, so now
Is HT a non-negative function? I mean,
it's not obvious right now, but yes, we'll show. Okay, so consider an elementary move So remember what an elementary move was. It was two horizontal dominoes, exactly adjacent horizontal dominoes, converting to two exactly adjacent vertical dominoes in a 2 by 2 square, or vice versa. So consider an elementary move centered at V. So the central vertex I'm calling V. Okay. And which we will call a V move. Okay. So let's see what happens to its what happens to the height functions. So there are two possibilities. I'll do one. So for example, maybe I can copy something from above. Okay, so let me draw it as two adjacent rectangles, and just to be able to see, maybe I'll just copy this. So to keep those slightly apart. This one is I can rotate it. Okay, it doesn't look nice. It's the perspective thing. It doesn't look so good. Okay, so I can choose this one. Okay. So this is an elementary move, and let me hash. So there are two possibilities. Either these two are black or these two are black. So this is V. Okay, so now let's let's consider the heights. So I'll pick some starting height, it doesn't matter. So let's say this is I. So then this is clockwise, so this is I plus 1, I plus 2, and then this is counterclockwise, so this is I plus 1, I, and here this will have it goes this way, so this is I minus 1. Okay. And this goes counterclockwise, so this again I plus 1, I plus 2. And let's look here. So suppose this was I. So here this is still part of the clockwise. It's a white square, so clockwise. So this is still I plus 1, I plus 2, and this is still counterclockwise. So this is I plus 1, I. And this same argument here, I plus 1, I plus 2, I plus 1. So what changes is the height of this. Now I go this way, this is counterclockwise, so this is going up, so this is I plus 3. Okay, and the key thing is this is I plus 3 and this is I plus 2. So, and similarly for the other case. So what is the observation? It is that the only effect of such a move is to increase or decrease ht of v, small ht of v, the reduced height function by 1. So if it were here, you reduced 4 here, so the reduced height function will go down by 1, and if you were here, you will increase the height function by 4, and therefore the reduced height. Okay, so in this case, going from horizontal to vertical, so I should make that remark. So there is a subtlety here, which is that it is not true. So yeah, okay, let me finish writing and then explain why I made this remark. That going from horizontal to vertical increases ht of v, or rather always. In this case it does, but I mean, you might be tempted to think that the all horizontals has height 1. So every time I go from horizontal to vertical, I will increase the height by 1. But this is not always true. So if I had done the other example, so try the other example. Okay, I'll put it in this side. I mean, you can maybe mentally see it already. If you do it the other way, if with this black and this white, you would see that actually it goes the other way around. So there is a subtlety here. It's not that, and okay, this is good. I'm preempting what will come later. But in fact, to get from the all horizontal to the all verticals, you might have to go at some point from vertical to horizontal. This might happen actually, and we will see actually that it does happen. Okay. Oh, okay. So I had to make one more remark, which I forgot. So we will call these moves raising and lowering. So these elementary moves which raise or lower the heights, we will call them raising. Move raising if it increases the height and lowering. Okay, so now I can define the other notion of rank. So we will define a new notion of rank, and we will show that these two are equivalent. So here's the proposition. So I think I'll stop after this. So proposition: the rank of a tiling can be alternately defined as, can be equivalently defined as R of t is the sum over B and G ht, the reduced height function. So if you sum the reduced height function over all vertices, you get the rank. Okay, so this is what we're going to prove, and just to compare, so for the all vertical styling, the rank is going to be the sum of these numbers for this all vertical styling, and for the all horizontal styling, it's 0 by construction. Okay, so let's prove this. Okay, so since RT min is 0, as I just said, and every elementary move changes ht at a single vertex by plus minus 1, the rank also changes by plus minus 1. So this says that we will need at least R of t moves to get from t to t min for any t. Right? So you're going to change this rank by 1 every time you do an elementary move, and so what? So you need at least so many moves if you're going to get from t to t min. I mean, you could potentially take more. Right? And now we will show. We will now verify that R of t moves suffice. Remember, the earlier definition of rank was the minimum number of moves needed to get to t or get to t min from t. But now we are going to show that this sum many moves are going to suffice by constructing a sequence of moves. Okay, so here is the algorithm. So let t naught be t, our desired tiling. So here, by the way, I should have said that, you know, there is the question of whether you can get from t to t min at all, right? But if you can, you'll need at least so many moves. And now in this process we will construct an explicit sequence of loops. Okay, so let T naught be our original tiling T, and we'll get to T min by this following sequence of moves. So, and we'll perform the following algorithm. For I equals 0, 1, 2, etc. until we get it. So the first step is to select a vertex Vi at which H of Ti is maximum. Okay, so initially we'll start with T. Okay, so if H of Ti of Vi, if the height in the tiling Ti of the vertex Vi is 0, then this is the maximum height, then Ti is equal to T min, and we are done. Okay. If not, so if HTI Vi is strictly greater than 0, Vi cannot be on the boundary. Since the heights on the boundary are fixed, remember, so the heights of the boundary are always fixed, so the reduced height on the boundary is always 0. Okay, so Vi cannot be on the boundary. Reduce the actual height function HTI of Vi by 4 to get a new legal height function by an elementary move. Obtained by an elementary move on Ti. Okay. Right. So we will just reduce that height by 1. This gives a new tiling. Ti plus 1 with R of Ti plus 1 equals R of Ti minus 1. Now you increment I by 1 and go to start. Okay, so this is the algorithm. So we will start with the tiling, and we will find the largest height, and we will keep decreasing it. Okay, and the claim is that this procedure terminates, since we have only a finite number of vertices, this procedure terminates at T. Okay. So are there any questions about the proof? So let me say that this is a bit subtle, and I have swept some things under the rug. So
So
let me
like,
ask. Yes.
so do you mean like, how do we know that we can always reduce it by one? I think that's what the thing is, right? In step
How
two,
do we know that? Sorry.
we can always reduce. There is something we can do to reduce it by one. How do we know that? Like,
Right.
how can we perform an elementary move that reduces by one?
Yeah. So that is the issue. Let's say. So I was going to show you in this example already that this is a problem. So let's look at this. So let's suppose all verticals are tiling T, and this is T min, and this has the T has this reduced height function. So at the first step, this is okay. So I take there's a unique vertex with maximum height, which is 2, and then I reduce by 1, which amounts to making this horizontal. But then we are in trouble, you see, because I have this whole sea of 1s here. Now what do I do? The algorithm says that you pick a vertex with maximum height, but there are any number with maximum height. I mean, not any number. I mean, so many of them. And in particular, you can't pick the one again. This one you can't pick again. Because if you did, you would actually increase the height by 1. And you would get back this. So there is a subtlety here. That's what I was getting at. So this proof in a sense is not totally complete. What one has to argue is that you can find a V such that you can do this and reduce the height by 1. So can you think about that? What's the guarantee that you can find such a V? And so it's, as I mentioned, this is subtle. You can't. It's not that you will always take 2 verticals and flip it to get a horizontal, to get to T min. You have to do something more, right? So what is the condition? I mean, you need to say something about the condition for picking a V. Okay, so I'll let you think about it. In the next class we will. So I'll ask you in the next class to think about some ideas for when you can reduce the height of. I mean, when you can. I mean, to show that you can always find such a V, and for which the tiling obtained. I mean, you obtain legitimate tiling by reducing V. Upamanyu, you were saying something?
No, sir, I didn't say anything.
Okay, I thought you unmuted yourself. Okay, so let's stop here.